The Nebraska legislative session is close to the finish line with more drama among lawmakers as that clock ticks down.
Jacqueline Fernandez joins us with the issue that got senators fired up today. Jacqueline?
Brian, Aaron, just a couple of days left in this session, and boy, did things get heated today when Lincoln Senator Jane Raybould tried again to pass changes to minimum wage increases. Raybould moved to include a 1.75% cap on increases to a bill involving unemployment and workforce development. This, despite the fact her efforts to change minimum wage increases failed a number of times this session.
I feel secondhand embarrassment. If you're a statesperson, you should at some point realize and understand there's a time to pack up your toys and go home.
And deliberative bodies.
Senator Raybould did withdraw her amendment and called on senators to use their manners. Meanwhile, another bill up for final vote today is LB 530, which raises punishments on a number of crimes. The measure includes lowering the age minimum for youth detention from 13 to 11, increasing penalties for people who supply fentanyl in overdose cases, and upgrading the charge for motor vehicle homicides when an unborn child is killed. Brian?
Thanks for that breakdown, Jacqueline.